When my sister betrayed me by sleeping with my husband, I confronted her and demanded an explanation. Instead of regret, she laughed and told me I was weak for not realizing sooner. My husband joined in, telling me I was just too old for him. As I walked out of the house, he yelled, "You'll never have any of this." But what he didn't know is that I was already laying the groundwork for his destruction. I'm 47 now. I live in Tucson, Arizona. My name doesn't really matter, but let's just say I'm someone who used to believe in second chances. Family loyalty, marriage vows, all of that. I used to think that if you worked hard, stayed honest, and showed up for the people you love, that life would reward you eventually. That's not true. I was married to Travis for 18 years. We met at a 4th of July cookout when I was 26. He was loud, funny, full of that southern charm that makes you feel seen, even when he's saying the same thing to 3 other women. But back then, I thought I'd won the lottery. I'd just moved to Arizona after a bad breakup and was trying to start over. Travis made me feel like someone worth loving, like I was home. Fast forward to 2020. We had a mortgage, a 20-year-old son in community college, a joint checking account, and a backyard that Travis never mowed even when he said he would. I managed a medical office and carried the insurance, the bills, the scheduling, everything. Travis bounced between jobs, always with a new excuse. He was either too smart for that kind of work or about to launch his own business. Spoiler, he never did. Then there's April, my sister. My only sibling, 3 years younger, always chasing chaos. She was the wild one growing up. Arrested once for shoplifting in high school. Got pregnant at 19, divorced at 25. But she was my sister, and when Mom died, I stepped up. I helped April through every disaster she landed in. I co-signed her lease once, gave her money for tires, bought Christmas gifts for her kids when she couldn't afford anything. She started coming around more in late 2021. At first it was little things, showing up for dinner, borrowing clothes, calling to vent. I thought she was just lonely. She said she missed being close. I let her in without thinking twice. What I didn't realize is that she had already found her next landing spot, my husband. Looking back, the signs were there. Travis started working out again, bought new clothes, wore cologne to go to Home Depot. He'd leave his phone face down all the time. Password protected everything. April started calling him directly, which I found weird, but I brushed it off. I was so tired all the time, I didn't have the energy to start a fight. The moment everything snapped into place was when I found April's earring on the floor next to my dresser. A little silver hoop. Not mine. Asked her about it, and she didn't even blink. Said she borrowed a blouse and maybe dropped it. Thing is, I never let her in my bedroom. And that blouse? Still hanging in my closet. I started watching them more closely after that. Not confronting, just watching. I noticed how they'd get quiet when I walked into a room. How Travis would text with a little smirk and then April would suddenly get a message. How she started dressing a little more done up, even for casual visits. Then came the moment I'll never forget. I came home early from work. One of the doctors had to cancel afternoon appointments, so I left around 1 p.m. I didn't tell Travis. I figured I'd surprise him, maybe have lunch together. The house was quiet when I pulled up. But when I walked in, I heard music, soft, jazzy, from the upstairs Alexa. Our bedroom door was closed. I had a knot in my stomach, but I didn't want to believe it. I opened the door. They were in my bed. My sister. My husband. Naked. Laughing. Tangled up in sheets like this was just another afternoon for them. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there. I remember April looking over her shoulder and saying, "Oh, look who finally figured it out." Travis didn't even flinch. "You always were slow," he said, pulling the sheet up like I was the one intruding. April said, "I mean, come on, Dana. You've been phoning it in for years. You work, you come home, you act like a zombie. What did you expect?" I didn't say a word. I just walked to the hallway, grabbed my keys, and turned to leave. That's when Travis shouted after me, "You'll never have any of this." This house, this life, it's mine now. And maybe he thought he'd broken me. Maybe they both did. But what neither of them knew, what I never let on, is that I'd already suspected something for weeks. And I'd already started protecting myself. Bank accounts, emails, shared passwords. I had it all. I'd made copies of everything. I'd talked to a lawyer, just asking questions. I'd opened a private checking account and started putting part of my paycheck into it. I'd made sure my name was on the house deed, and also quietly pulled the title report to confirm. And I was about to ruin them both. Not by screaming. Not by stooping to their level. I was going to take my time. Let them get comfortable. Then I was going to take everything they thought they stole from me. After that day, I didn't go back home. I stayed at a cheap motel off Speedway Boulevard for the first week. It was small, smelled like bleach and stale smoke, but it was quiet. I needed quiet. I called off work with a lie about a family emergency, then turned off my phone for 3 straight days. I didn't even cry. I was beyond crying. But I wasn't done. Not even close. When I finally turned my phone back on, there were no messages from Travis. None from April either. That told me everything I needed to know. They didn't just betray me. They thought I was gone. They thought they'd won. They thought I was weak. So I started pushing. First, I went to the bank. I removed half of everything in our joint accounts. Legally, I could. Then I closed the credit cards we shared. Travis had racked up over $9,000 in charges in just the last 6 months. Most of it? Bars, restaurants, hotel rooms, expensive lingerie that definitely wasn't for me. Then I called the utility companies. Water, electric, internet, all under my name. I canceled them all. I knew Travis wouldn't notice until it was too late. And the house? This is where it got interesting. He kept telling people, his friends, even a few of mine, that I ran off, that he was going to buy me out of the house. What he didn't realize was that my name wasn't just on the deed, it was the primary name. The house had been a gift from my dad's inheritance. My money made the down payment. My credit got us the loan. Travis never read the paperwork. He just signed. I called my lawyer. We filed for divorce. No waiting. No discussion. Just a clean motion, with grounds for adultery. And then, quietly, I had a notice to vacate delivered to my own home. It was taped to the front door like a silent slap in the face. I heard from a neighbor later that Travis tore it up and screamed at the delivery guy. Good. But it didn't stop there. April, always desperate for attention, started posting pictures. Her and Travis at the zoo. Her and Travis at their house. I saved every single one. Screenshots, downloads, timestamps. All of it. For the divorce, and for what came after. Then I reached out to April's ex-husband. We'd never gotten along, but I knew he still had shared custody of their kids. I asked if he was aware that April had moved in with a man who drank every night and was under investigation for fraud, which Travis was, another story for another time. He wasn't. That kicked off a court petition that tore April's life sideways. She had to attend supervised visits for months. Her ex got full custody temporarily. She blamed me, of course. But she never once asked why I did it. She never once apologized. Not once. Around that same time, Travis got served a formal subpoena. Turns out, when you lie about your income to your spouse and then get caught depositing unreported cash from side consulting jobs, the IRS tends to care. I made sure they knew. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding my life from the ground up. I got my own place. A small rental in Marana, nothing fancy, but clean and mine. I kept things quiet. I told no one outside of my lawyer and my closest friend from work what was really going on. But the tension kept rising. Travis started leaving voicemails, angry, drunken rants about how I ruined everything, how he should have left me years ago, how I was a bitter old woman. And April? She showed up at my office once. Just walked in like she still had the right. She stood there in front of the reception desk and said, loud enough for patients to hear, "You think you're better than me? At least I don't have to buy my men." I had security escort her out. My boss backed me up. But that was the day I knew I couldn't just destroy their relationship. I had to ruin the version of me they told the world. I had to drag the truth into the light. The divorce dragged on longer than I expected. Travis tried every delay tactic in the book. He'd forget paperwork, claim he was out of town, even accuse me of hiding assets. But I was patient. Every lie he told just gave me more leverage. Then something unexpected happened. About 6 months into the divorce process, I got a message from someone named Erica. She found me on Facebook, sent a simple DM that said, "Hi, I know this is weird, but I think your husband was also seeing my friend during the same time he was with your sister." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, asking if she'd be willing to talk. We ended up on the phone that night. Turns out, while Travis was sneaking around with April, he was also seeing another woman, Jessica, a bartender at one of the local spots near 4th Avenue. Erica told me that Jessica had dated Travis for about 5 months. He told her he was divorced, that I was crazy, and that April was his roommate's sister. I nearly laughed when I heard that. Jessica, it turns out, had no idea he was married until Erica saw a picture of Travis and April on April's Instagram and realized that he'd lied to both of them. Jessica dumped him immediately. That could have been the end of it. But then Erica said something that chilled me. He told Jessica he was going to move to Vegas with April, start fresh there. But Jessica thinks he was using April to get access to some trust fund or family money. That didn't make sense to me at first. April didn't have money. She barely had credit. But then it hit me. Our mom had left a small trust for April's kids. It was locked up until the kids turned 18, but April had limited access to manage it as the guardian. About $30,000 total. I had helped her fill out the forms to gain administrative access 2 years earlier. I dug deeper. Quietly. I reached out to the bank that managed the trust, pretending to help April with an account issue. I still had some of her old login info. What I found made me sick. Over $18,000 had been withdrawn in the last 4 months. Not spent on the kids. Not spent on school or housing. Just gone. I didn't report it immediately. Instead, I gathered every statement, every receipt, every text from April asking me how to move funds quickly. Every photo of Travis wearing expensive watches, flying to Vegas for business, even a post he'd made about new beginnings with April. I printed them all, filed them into a binder, and sent it anonymously to April's ex-husband's lawyer and the bank's fraud division. That set off a storm. A formal investigation into misuse of a minor's trust fund. April nearly lost custody permanently. She had to appear in court twice just to explain where the money went, and every lie she told was cross-checked with the documents I'd submitted. Travis? He was named as an unauthorized beneficiary. Then another twist. Turns out Travis had started a business in my name. While we were still married, he filed for a fake LLC using my social and credit history. Some garbage shell company he used to apply for a PPP loan during the pandemic. I didn't find out until the IRS sent me a letter asking for documentation. That's when I lost it. I went straight to my lawyer and filed for fraud. We added criminal complaints to the divorce case. I froze my credit. Then I worked with a forensic accountant to track every transaction tied to that fake company. It led me to a PayPal account, one that had received nearly $14,000 in federal funds. And guess what? He linked it to April's email address. Together, they were going to steal my life, my identity, my home, my name, and they were going to laugh while doing it. But now, they were both under formal investigation. The house. I was weeks away from reclaiming it fully. Their reputation? Sinking fast. But I wasn't done. Because while they were spiraling, I was about to make sure the whole town knew exactly who they really were. By the end of that year, I had gathered everything I needed. Documents, photos, legal filings, statements from Jessica and Erica, screenshots of Travis bragging on Facebook about getting the system to work for him, evidence of April misusing her kids' trust fund, lying under oath, and letting Travis pull the strings while she smiled for selfies in front of my old house. But they weren't living so large anymore. By the time April got dragged back to court for the second fraud hearing, she'd lost temporary custody of both her kids. The judge didn't mince words. He said, "You've repeatedly used your children's money for personal gain, and your story doesn't add up." Her ex-husband was granted permanent primary custody, and she was ordered to repay over $18,000 to the trust account within 90 days, or lose visitation completely. She didn't have the money. Not even close. Travis tried to act like none of it affected him. He strutted into court for our final divorce hearing wearing sunglasses indoors and tried to charm the judge. But his fake LLC came back to bite him hard. Not only did the IRS open an audit, but the state pressed charges for fraudulently applying for government funds. He pled no contest to avoid jail time, but he had to pay nearly $20,000 in restitution, plus legal fees. And the house? I got it. The judge awarded me the home, full and clear, based on my initial down payment, my inheritance documentation, and Travis's significant contribution to financial instability. He had 14 days to vacate. On the 15th day, I showed up with a locksmith. He'd already gone, but not before trashing the place. Holes in the drywall, broken closet doors, cigarette burns in the carpet upstairs. It hurt, walking back into that house. The bed where I found them. The kitchen table where April used to sit like she belonged. The living room where my family was supposed to feel safe. I didn't stay long. I sold it 2 months later. Not for revenge, but to close the chapter for good. I used the money to buy a smaller place in Oro Valley a little further out. Quiet.
Clean. Meaning.
Then I mailed one final letter.
To both of them.
Same envelope. No return address. Inside, a full printed copy of every court document, every financial penalty, every custody ruling, and every screenshot I'd gathered. On the final page, I wrote just 6 words. "You said I'd never have this." I heard through a former neighbor that Travis moved back in with his mother. April tried living with friends, but they kicked her out after she borrowed money she never paid back. Last I checked, she was working at a local diner, begging the court for a reduction in her repayment schedule. They don't speak anymore. The beautiful part? I never screamed. I never broke down in public. I didn't beg anyone to believe me. I just let the truth burn everything down. And I walked away clean.